Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live on this Memorial Day weekend in my desert bunker in Palm Desert, California. With me is the professor himself. You know him as Pro GK Academy, Omar Zeenni. And joining us is nobody. Literally nobody. Nobody is with us today. It's a Memorial Day holiday. People are enjoying themselves out there. They're having a great time, which is fantastic. First off, for anybody here who's tuned in because they wanted to see Emily Boyd from the Chicago Red Stars, she will be on Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific. It was just a quick little reschedule. Emily was available. It wasn't because Emily wasn't willing to come on Memorial Day. It was because we had some other situations going on, and we wanted to make sure that it was going to be the best possible podcast with Emily on there. So we're really excited to have her on Thursday. But instead, today, you guys have been asking for it, as Omar has been saying on the podcast for a while here. Ask and you shall receive. Today, we are going to be getting a lecture, a webinar from the one and only professor himself, Omar Zeenni, how to break down your game film, how to read cues, how to read the game, how to understand your goalkeeper intelligence, your emotional quotient, your intelligent quotient, all the different quotients. So, Omar, why don't you take it away? Where are we going to start today?
Well, first and foremost, happy Memorial Day. Thank you to everybody for their service. I'm trying to do a virtual background for you, Mike, so it looks at the inside the 18. But no, it was kind of last minute, so definitely wish I could get more clips, and I'd probably have to do a part 2 to this. But no, I think, you and I have been discussing over the past, 2-3 years now, just discussing how we can really optimize what we do in terms of goalkeepers and goalkeeper coaches, and maximize our time and optimize certain things that we do throughout our day. So for example, summertime, we usually get the Euros or Women's World Cup or Men's World Cup, and we obviously watch those games for joy, and we enjoy the competition, we enjoy the headlines and all that. But can we also maximize our time watching that, so we're also learning? And I feel like that was something that was kind of instilled in me at a young age from my dad. Is I think I told the story on here before, but I was 13 years old going to my National Cup final. The game was at, I think, 1 in the afternoon. And back then, 2000 and I think 2005, 2006, when Arsenal was at the top of their game, they were obviously the team to watch. So I was watching them every weekend. We didn't have TiVo, we didn't have DVR, so I would wake up at 6 a.m. to watch the games. And my dad would come out there. He'd be like, "You need to go to sleep. You have a game at 1 o'clock. Get some rest." No, I actually want to watch Jens Lehmann. I want to watch, Henri Perez. I want to watch these guys play. They could win the league today, and it, be exciting. So he was like, "Okay, if you're watching these games, let's make it, let's actually watch them to learn. What are you looking at from the goalkeeper? What is it about the goalkeeper's movements? What is it about his communication style? What is it about it that you're learning?" And I'm like, honestly, I just watch for fun. I don't really have much of a buy-in for anything other than just to watch for fun. He's like, "Well, then you're wasting your time. Can we optimize your actual learning capability and your capacity to learn?" So that's kind of where it started for me, is watching games at a young age, and not just watching it for fun, but can I watch it to see what the goalkeeper's communication style is, what the distribution technique is. 90th minute, are they playing it long? Are they playing it short? Offside trap, how high is their starting point? All of that stuff. And I felt like at a young age that really allowed me to use that to my advantage whenever I watch my own footage or whenever I was in games, to have that mental recall of all those moments that I really put that time in to learn.
Now, so I want to say this real quick. First off, one of the really cool things about what you've been doing during quarantine, that we've all recognized, is that you've been posting a lot of content from different eras, as opposed to just, one of the things that happens a lot of times is that, out of sight, out of mind. People are posting recent clips. They're posting what happened this weekend. They're posting what happened today. But, you've been literally posting things like 2017, semifinals and things like that. And so you've really been delving in there to really find really great coachable moments for people. And one thing that I've really loved is that you recently, this past weekend, you posted a clip about Jens Lehmann, who some of the younger insiders who are listening right now might not be familiar with. Was a great German international, played over at Arsenal, as obviously as Omar can attest to, being a big Arsenal supporter. And you were able to break down and recognize that, and we'll watch the clip right now, but that everything's not always as it seems, right?
Yeah. No, I think, and that's what it is, right? Even this past weekend, I had a session with Jamie Campbell, who's on the U.S. Women's National Team U15s, and she's been to multiple camps. And even just asking her questions of her own footage. I said, hey, I put these 3 clips together. 2 of them are the same and one of them is different. Tell me the reasons why the first 2 are the same and the last one is different. And, she mentioned obviously kind of scratching the surface as to, oh, my body shaped this, my body shaped that. And then, my footwork here. And I'm like, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's really like pay attention to the footwork. I want to see if you notice just a little bit more, like give me a little bit more. So I'm like guiding her to find the answer. And finally she gave it to me. She's like, oh, in clips 1 and 2, I actually, don't take the proper steps, but on clip 3, I'm able to get that little prep set in prior to me finishing my footwork. And so now in her head, she sees that and goes, okay, from this point forward, I know exactly how that looks, so that when I step into my next session and when I step into a game where it's a free kick, goes over the wall, can I maximize my quick footwork just like I did in that last clip that Omar showed me from training? So for me, it was like that mental recall of letting people see either themselves or somebody else do something that pertains to them. So when it came to Jens, so go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that was great that you brought up in regards to seeing it in slow motion and seeing that prep step. First off, shout out to Jamie for that, because we've been working on that load from that pre-stretch, that load into that load, and actually getting that prep step before your push off. So thank you, Jamie, for finally making happen with Omar and not with me. No, totally kidding. Is that this is the right way to utilize slow motion. I want for a lot of people out there who might be, let's say, a content creator or just a goalkeeper coach or a parent out there, who I've been seeing a lot of slow motion videos out there on all the different types of platforms, and you're using it for the wrong purposes. This is the type of reason to use slow motion, so that you can really break down technique. It's not about showing me how awesome your save looks in slow motion. It's about showing me how my shift of my body weight or that slight dorsiflexion affected that movement, so that I got either the proper movement this time or I didn't get it this time.
For sure. And I can show the Jamie one right now if you don't mind. But if you could do me a favor, Mike, you have to like make me a host or something so I can share my screen.
Yeah. Oh wow, man. These new all these new
Guidelines,
guidelines, man. It's crazy. It's like they're just trying to be so secure with everything.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
So now again, this is something that you show the goalkeeper. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just make it full screen.
Okay, cool.
So let's see if you can notice any difference, Mike. So this is the first clip. So we're working on just power movements and then quick footwork. So as you can see, one of the bigger things that I was looking with her is like, hey, you're not getting to shots outside your bubble. Can we get some more powerful footwork into that save? So here you'll see she doesn't take another step after she comes around the rope. It's just one step and then a long extension with her legs, so she has no more power. So as it comes, watch, you'll see here, she just goes straight into a dive. So now she can only reach as far as her arms can take her. Plus, she has no more capability to push off her off leg to transmit that power to the lead foot. So, I said in the session, like, hey, you got to touch on that, great, but let's see how, if we can get a little bit more. So now you can see her whole body is moving together because she took that little extra step. So look at her feet, lands, 1, 2, and then she pushes off. So again, just watching that film and then showing her that, now she's able to see, obviously, that, okay, there's deductive reasoning. Can you continuously ask why, so that when you watch your own film, now you don't have to have a coach there. You can break it down yourself and go, okay, I see what I'm seeing, but okay, what is leading me into not being able to have strong hands? Okay, maybe because I'm extending with one leg and my arm is going by itself, leaving my head and my other leg behind, so I don't have enough power. So now, okay, so why, how can we fix that? And we add the footwork component into it, and now she's answering questions that otherwise she would not have been able to answer on her own. And then for her, that's expediting her whether it's trial and error in training, and she watches her own footage. Now she's able to go, whoa, next session I know exactly what to hone in on.
I want to bring this up too, because I know that we spent a little bit of time looking at this clip this past weekend and discussing it in regards to what do I notice, what do you notice, yada 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 yada, and a lot of it is things that we were using was a lot of coach talk, and what I mean by coach talk is language that goalkeeper coaches use or soccer coaches use when we're speaking to each other. It's almost like a different language. And we started having the conversation that it was something that I've been trying to work on recently, is eliminating as much coach talk as possible and trying to speak in the goalkeeper's language, whether it's based on what their level is. So if you're talking to a 9-year-old and you starting to talk to them and you're starting to use very technical terms, a drop step and then your movement, and then you got to make sure that there's, those dorsiflexion, so you have flexibility when you push off, and they're not going to know what you're talking about. So you need to find ways to convey the same information in a way that it matters to them. Because one thing that I was starting to recognize and was that goalkeepers were telling me back what I wanted to hear rather than what they really understood. And that was concerning to me because it made me recognize that I'm not doing the job of really teaching them why they're doing something. They're just trying to repeat what I said, but they don't know why they're doing it. So how do we work on that, Omar?
No, I think it's also to just making sure that they understand that there's a trust factor there. So you need to have obviously build a rapport, and I'm sure there's clients that you and I have had and students that we've had that the first 2 or 3 sessions you have with them, it's kind of difficult because you're still finding what makes them tick. You're still trying to find their temperament and what their learning style is and what their capabilities are. Do I have someone who can retain information extremely well and I can actually put a lot on their plate? And do I have somebody who needs me to take it a little bit slower? So, the first 2 or 3 sessions, they're getting comfortable with you, but you're also gaining, valuable information and data on them and how, their learning style and your coaching style, how you can couple those two and really maximize their potential. So I think the biggest thing is I would tell coaches and myself included is, just be patient. Make sure that you at least go into those first few sessions with them and try to understand who they are as people first. And then once you're able to do that, then you can see what their learning style is. And if you have the ability to, go at a faster pace, perfect. But if you also have someone who doesn't learn as quickly, and you have someone like you said, Mike, who you're almost they're regurgitating information to you because of let's say they're afraid to be wrong, or they're just afraid to show you that they don't know. Because you've built that rapport and you have trust with them now, then maybe because you've built that trust over time and you were patient with them, now they're way more open to saying, you know what, yeah, coach Magid, I'm probably going to be wrong on this one, but I'm going to say what's on my mind. This is what I instinctually feel. And then if they're wrong, then you at least have built that trust, that foundation of trust, that they go, oh, you know what? Okay, he's not going to be mad about that. So I'm okay to be upset. I'm okay to speak my mind. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. But at least for us coaches, if we give them the platform and the ability to just speak freely, no filter, we're going to have a better understanding of what's going on in their head versus, like you said, just telling them, hey, what did I just say? What did I teach you? And they're regurgitating, not out of fear, but they're regurgitating so that they're not wrong.
But that's one of the things I love the fact you brought up, and I don't know if you want to keep the screen sharing going on right now because it literally looks like right now like we're about to do some sort of DJ project for people. There's like all these sounds going on, these videos and stuff. No, one of the things that I've recognized with a lot of goalkeepers, it's not because they're afraid of me, it's because of situations they've had in the past where they have been so scolded by coaches in the past that they're worried about saying something wrong. Because a lot of people in the coaching community, again, it's not because they're trying to do it, but they instill this doubt in the kids, in the young goalkeepers, and that doubt creates the fear, and that fear creates the parrot that we're talking about, basically is coming from that. So personally, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I really try to find a common ground with the goalkeeper, not having anything to do with goalkeeping if I can. So that way they see me more as a human being, as a person, rather than just a goalkeeping robot that they have to fear or they have to appease.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, it's difficult because I've definitely noticed with some goalkeepers that I've had that they come into the session and through no fault of their own, I think they've had coaches in the past who didn't necessarily, whether there was their coaching style or how they were brought up as goalkeepers, but their personality hasn't really come out in the session. So some kids that I've had, when I've had discussions with them, I said, hey, the kid I have with Noah, I'll ask him, hey, what did you think about that? And before I could even get another word in, he's giving me, paragraphs and details of what he's going through in his head, what his instinct was, what he thinks he should have done. And like, he's going through all these layers of self-assessment. I don't have to do anything. I just say, dude, go for it. That we'll have a discussion, but I want you to speak. You have the floor, speak. Then I have other kids who I'll ask, hey, like, what did you notice there? And they're just extremely shy because whether goalkeeper coaches in the past never let them speak, or they're just a shy kid from school, they don't really necessarily want to talk about anything other than coach, you tell me what I need to do, and then that's it. But then it's like us as coaches where I'm like, I want more. Like, give me more, and I need to hear more, even if it's a shy, low voice, and you're not confident about it. Just tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you thought the goal of the drill was. Tell me what you felt in the drill based off of what my goal for the drill was. And if things don't add up, then we'll have a discussion about it. But I guess it's on us to allow those kids that ability to just speak what's on their mind and not have a filter. Because what do you say, when you have a filter, it's almost like you're giving about 10-20% less of what you actually know. And then us as coaches, we only have so much information that you're giving us for us to help you out. So if you're afraid of making a mistake, or making us upset because you don't know what what we're saying, or you're not retaining the information like somebody else in the group is, then we're going to have an issue, because we're not going to be able to help you to the max as
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was going to say, one mistake that I made when I was a younger goalkeeper coach is that I would get the deer in the headlights look whenever a young goalkeeper challenged me, or showed me something that basically went against my ideas, or my experiences. As an older goalkeeper coach, I've started recognizing that's a good thing, because now it's making me think, okay, what out of what this kid is saying here is relevant, is going to make this a better session? Why, if it's something that I disagree with, why is he thinking this way? And how can I get him or her on the same page as myself? And I just think that's just a maturation process as a coach, and I think it just takes reps, just like anything else, for us to become comfortable, right?
Yeah, like you said, yeah. What's one thing you told me a long time ago is just getting those reps. And I think, again, something that I've been really hot on lately is, I think I said in the last podcast, emotional intelligence, and just kind of understanding the human elements and human components about people, and what makes people, like, what triggers people. And once you kind of have an idea of what those components are for each person, then you're going to be able to layer your messaging accordingly. And us as coaches, like you said, Mike, I mean, me included, when I was younger, if someone would have said, hey, like, I don't always dive forward, Omar, I can't do that. And, my Hispanic background, I'm just going to dive the way I need to dive to make the save. And I said, okay, well, that's not the right way. That's not how I do it. And then we'd have an argument, and then I would see it the way I want to see it. He would see it the way he wants to see it. We would, agree to disagree. But then after those conversations, I would reflect and go, you know what? He's probably right, though, because he is making the save. So who am I to tell him not to make the save a certain way? Sure, I can give him details and ideas of how to do it, my way. But as we talked about throughout this quarantine, the ideal technique versus the effective technique can be two different things. Because my ideal technique and how I see a goalkeeper doing something compared to how you see, a goalkeeper doing something, Mike, could be completely different. And if you and I are trying to force our ideas into each goalkeeper, and they have a different way of making the save, are we really helping them? No, because we're almost having them play off of not fear, but play off of somebody else's mentality versus their own instinct. And when you take instinct out of anybody in any profession, then you have almost a shell of themselves, and what separates them from somebody else.
Yeah, I want to get back to that goalkeeper IQ that we've been talking about, and when we had Tim Dittmer on a few months back, and he brought up the thinking goalkeeper and how to get the right questions and all that. I think personally that in itself should be a course, like teaching goalkeeper coaches on how to ask questions and how to get their goalkeepers to think, and not spoon feeding them the content, because I think that's one of the things that's lacking in our coaching education. And I'm not negating anything that is being taught out there, is that I think we as coaches are not being taught how to teach. We're being taught more what to teach rather than how to teach. And I think how to teach has been my big mantra this whole quarantine, is how am I teaching? How do I become a better teacher? As opposed to, because I can learn content, I can learn technique, I can learn tactics. Like that's not a problem. Like, I mean, and I think after, 20 plus years, like I know a good amount about goalkeeping, but how much do I know about teaching? So I think one thing is that a lot of goalkeeper coaches out there who are listening to this or watching this right now is talk to teachers that talk to professors, talk to people that aren't in the goalkeeping world, and just talk to them about how they go about teaching. Because a lot of us don't come from a teaching background. We come from a playing background or some other sort of background, but we didn't we didn't go to school to be teachers or anything like that. So I think that's really extremely important. And one of the reasons I bring that up is because you've got that Jans Lehmann clip, and this is really showcasing goalkeeper IQ to the nth degree. And what I would love to do with you, Omar, and I don't know if you're down with this, is like I would love to talk about this, how you would bring up this clip with one of your younger goalkeepers based on how they see it first and how they see it afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah. So what I normally do is I'll share my screen, but normally what I'll do is I'll get the clip that I'm about to show you, and I'll send it over to one of the goalkeepers that I train, and I'll say, look, okay, I want you to notice, or I want you to watch this piece of footage and tell me what you see. So I'll just play it all the way through, and then there's gonna be some slow-mo stuff. But
by the way, it's in HD. Wait, is it in HD?
Yeah, is HD?
They had HD back then for Lehmann?
Dude, they had the best cameras, man, and they only show them. I think UEFA saves them just for their footage.
That's
But okay,
amazing, dude. Yeah.
So I saw here, I'm watching the highlight myself, and I'm thinking, okay, most people are going to be, watching the ball and that's it. And again, that's what I used to do when I was younger, back to the Arsenal days of just, I used to watch Henri every time he got the ball, and then Sylvain Wiltord, like the back four, Sol Campbell, like those guys do what they need to do. But I would never really watch the goalkeeper or Jens Lehmann, not really paying attention to him. But as I gotten older, I watched before they even cross this ball. All my eyes are fixated on him. So I started watching this clip, and I started noticing, okay, why is this guy as great as he is, or why, as good as he is? So I'm paying attention to him. And then I just start seeing his eyes, just kind of like how Xavi is and Iniesta do when they get the ball. His head is on a swivel. He's constantly looking at the ball, looking at the runners. And then from here, nothing really comes of this. I mean, yes, they hit the crossbar. But if you notice, every time he looks over, he's taking a picture. So his eyes are on the runners. Then he's quickly, his eyes shift to the ball. And then he realizes that, okay, the striker puts his head down. He's probably going to play it into this passing lane. So because he knows where the ball is going to land, in my opinion, and because he's taken the scanning and seen the picture, he advances his position just slightly. So just in my opinion, so that he's ready to go when the shot comes. I think had it been an actual save, it probably would have been like a highlight clip. People would have noticed it. But because it hit the crossbar, no one really said anything because it didn't lead to a goal. It wasn't a mistake. This is important stuff that I feel like young kids, when you watch this, you need to understand what is happening prior to the ball even being hit on frame.
Thank you for giving us that solid headshot of Jans Lehmann right there, just to showcase him.
I'll let it play, but yeah, we can keep going.
Well, I want to say this, by the way. First off, dude, is like, this is why, when people joke around about like, Omar and his clips and everything, it's like, dude, how'd you find this? Like some random shot, like he's off frame. Like it's not even like a save and stuff like that. That means like, this is guys, this is what Omar does. Omar literally scours for hours, and he'll find teachable moments in plays that people who probably even performed in the, Jans Lehmann doesn't even remember this play, by the way. Like, you're literally the only you're bringing it back for him, and he's going to be like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. No clue.
Well, but honestly, my goal, Mike, is just to show people that, like myself, and I think a lot of top goalkeepers, I was speaking to Eric Klanowski yesterday, who is on T2, and he and I, is it T2 or Toronto 2? It's a Toronto FC 2.
Yeah, Toronto FC 2.
I thought it was a Timbers 2. But anyways,
yeah.
Let me just take off my screen share.
You already did. Yeah.
And so he and I were just discussing it, and he was, we were breaking down the fact that, Buffon, Casillas, all those guys, why they're so great and why they've been able to play up until, close to 40 is because, again, that trial and error, they've seen the exact same situations over and over and over, and they know exactly where that ball is going to fall. And that's why analytics are so important now. Even at Cal State LA, we have something called the 91, where in the MLS, most of the goals were scored in the 91 percentile, were inside the six and just a little bit outside the six. So it was mainly cutbacks and runners across the box. So as a goalkeeper, if I know the analytics and I've seen the footage and I know where the runners might be coming from, my mind is like, okay, I'm watching the ball, I'm watching the forwards, I'm watching the ball, then the forwards, so that when that ball does get cut back and I know where it may fall, I know exactly where to get to my set position a second early, so I have the ability to get my feet into the ground and then react. But not a lot of people even understand that to use your athleticism, to use your technique, and to really bottle it up and use it in the right way, where your eyes and where your head goes, and you talk about my preventative goalkeeping, where all that takes you is that lead up into that save. And again, we talked about the slow-mo. We talk about the YouTube highlights. All we really ever see is those slow motion saves and those highlights of Buffon and Casillas, when we really don't get to see the action prior. So, me watching this Euro 2008 was Germany versus Turkey. I'm just watching that, and then throughout the highlights, I see, oh, whoa, okay, this kind of just stood out to me. Let me actually rewind it, and maybe, hopefully, I saw it the correct way. Then I watched it again. I'm like, whoa, this is actually next level stuff in terms of the psyche and understanding the picture and the perception of what you see, and then from there getting to a point where you're going to get there an extra second early to give yourself the ability to make a save. So he didn't make the save here, but still, I thought it was just something I needed to point out because of how good it was.
I like what you were pointing out about the head swivel thing, because once you point it out in the video and you showcase it, your eyes all of a sudden fixate on the head swivel because you don't even recognize that, which makes me realize when you're talking to a younger goalkeeper or even an older goalkeeper that you're trying to break down game film with, is that they need to watch the entire frame. And by frame, I mean the entire physical frame of the goalkeeper in order to recognize any sort of visual cue. If you just look at the feet, or if you just look at the waist, or if you just look at the hands, or the space behind them, or the space in front of them, or whatever, you're missing the entire picture, right?
Yeah, and again, that's the beauty of just watching the film and understanding, even having that communication with your goalkeeper so that they understand that it's never as straightforward as it seems. And yeah, sometimes it can get to a point where it's like a paralysis by analysis, where you're almost trying to get answers when sometimes the surface is the answer. But to really dig deeper and kind of get an understanding of yourself and other goalkeepers, you have to look at the things outside and really try and get below the surface and understanding what led to that decision. And then you have to take in the other factors around the game. 90th minute, they're going to overtime. There's so many little factors that you need to take into account. So that's essentially why we're doing this, is the IQ of, you need to be able to be forward thinking and understanding the context of what's happening around you, so you have the ability to make the most informed decision.
Yeah, I love the fact that last week when we did the episode with Bree on scanning the field and in regards to, seeing the picture, because being able to watch, I feel that if the more that you watch clips like this and the more that you're able to break them down and analyze them as a younger goalkeeper, it's going to give you a better toolbox to when you are in the moment in the game to recognize, and you're like, oh, I've seen these variables before based on these clips that I've seen. And now I've seen how he made those adjustments. So I know how this works, as opposed to just having to go through trial and error of what you're doing in your games.
Absolutely. So I'll show you this one right here. This is one that I watched a long time ago when I was younger, and then I'm glad it was on a highlight tape for Buffon. But essentially, look, when he comes out for this 1v1, more often than not, you see a lot of people, moving, and they try to come out to the forward's feet and smother the ball. And sometimes you'll see the forward just chip it over the goalkeeper. I think it was like Hernan Crespo versus Jerzy Dudek, the third goal in the Champions League final. Dudek comes out, Crespo just chips it over his head, leaves so much space in behind. They score, they're up 3-0. Luckily, they ended up winning the game, but still, like, that kind of information to me was like, okay, maybe I should probably hold my line a little bit longer so that I don't get chipped. And then I watch clips like this of Buffon, and I go, whoa, this is what it looks like to be patient. So like you said, Mike, you have those little clips in your head that you can recall. And then once you step into a game, you're like, oh, Buffon, like, from this angle, didn't move at all. He pretty much told the forward, you know what, you have to beat me. So then when I go to a 1v1 situation, I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm just going to stay big, see what they do. And more often than not, they're going to put it into your bubble. So you see right here, doesn't bite, boom, right into the bubble. He makes a save. And then
I mean, personally, watching that clip right now, if he had advanced a little bit more, I think he would have exposed space. And I think the guy could have chosen not to shoot, and he could have played the ball across, and he would have been done. So I think that Buffon makes the right decision to hold on post right there. And by the way, I want a lot of young goalkeeper coaches here to hear this. When you say things to goalkeepers, they take it very literally. That's what I'm talking about with goalkeeper language, right? Or coach talk. I say hold the post. A young goalkeeper is going to literally grab the post and stand there. That's why you need to explain it in a way that they understand it. Like, heels in front of your post, something like that. Because if you say hold the post, they're going to stand on the post. So I think it's really, really good when we use these types of clips, is that we try to explain it to them how we would explain it to them on the field as well too. Don't talk about it like it's a different thing than what's going on with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why we talk about like creating the scenario so that we know exactly. So the player knows exactly what the picture is you're trying to paint. So if it's like a cutback situation, it's like, okay, where did the ball come from before the cutback situation? Well, the ball came from a fast break on a counter attack. It was 3v2. Your defenders, you told your defenders to play, force them out wide. Once they force them out wide, shifted from your 6 all the way to your near post. And then from there, now you have 2 runners coming in and the crosser. So now at least they have an idea of what they're looking for. So then that footwork, okay, we start on the 6, one little cross shuffle maybe to the near post. If they take the touch inward, then you step and advance your position. But if they just cross it back across, you go from the near post, you open your hips up, and you get ready for the shot. So at least they have an idea of what you're trying to show them. I think a lot of times where it's almost we're trying to joystick them and really just say, okay, ball's going to come. Like I used to do this too. I would say, okay, I'm going to stand on the corner of the 6 at the edge on the end line. I'm going to cut it back, and that's it. But how often are we doing where the goalkeeper literally starts in a static and stationary position, hugging their post, and that ball comes across? There's always an action prior to that. Sure, there's limitations, right? It's going to be, you in a 1v1, or excuse me, in a one-on-one session sometimes, and it's going to be difficult to have that run. But if we can try and show them the picture prior so that the footwork matches as much as you can to the game, as well as your terminology matches that, then you're able to build that language.
So what I try to do, and I got this from from acting, is I called moment before, prior circumstance, right? Where I present the picture of the prior circumstance of what just happened before the activation of the activity. Therefore, they're coming in from the mindset of like, this is just exactly what happened, and now we're going into this. So I'm now in that moment. I'm living realistically in an imaginary circumstance, and now I'm dealing with what's in front of me as reality. So I think little things like that can definitely help, especially with the younger kids, because now their imaginations first off are stronger than with the older kids anyway, because they think they can fly and they're dragons and all sorts of stuff. So if you give them like, oh, all right, dude, you know what just happened? It's like so it's a 72nd minute, right? So you just held on to that cross. That was pretty awesome, right? And you just distributed that ball out there. But hold on, what just happened? That dude just lost the ball, and now we just cut it across left, and now he's coming at you 1v1. What are you gonna do? And you go, ah! And they start, but they're in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, and they're actually seeing it. And now it's not a drill anymore. Now it's actually the game. And I think we need to start implementing more. I love what Matt Doyle was talking about with gamification, because we need to start implementing more of that to get the creative juices flowing in the goalkeepers. Otherwise, one of the reasons I think that we run sessions a lot of times that we do is because it's easy. It's easy. We put together the session, and we show up to the field, and we set up our field, and then we show them, and then we do a little modeling of this is what we're going to do. All right, and now go. Why are we doing this? Why did we never told them? We never told them why we're doing this. We're just doing it. And then that was basically an hour of a waste of time, other than just some athletic activity for these kids.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the video component is huge. Whether it's the highlights that I'm showing you of Jens Lehmann, or the highlights of yourself in training sessions. So, for example, with Jamie, and I showed her those clips, and I know the next time we train, she's going to notice exactly what I'm talking about, and that language and that communication level is a lot deeper than it was prior to that session. So sometimes I definitely I try to be as patient as I can with the session, because I know that I'm also filming, and I can also go back and say, maybe the drill wasn't necessarily covering what I wanted it to. So I'm not going to overreact now. Let me just see if maybe we can get some notes from those sessions that I could send her, so she has some mental recall and some visualization prior to the next session we go into. And the next clip I'm going to show you, Mike,
Yeah.
is I think it was from the group stages of the Euro 2018. It was a German goalkeeper, which is really funny because this guy, I kid you not, last week DM'd me and said, "Thank you for the breakdown, Omar, but I think I probably could have stepped a little bit higher, or I could have stayed in my goal a little bit deeper. I came out too close."
Really?
I swear, I was like, okay, I did not know that you, cool, I guess, but
That's
I
fun. That's
honestly,
funny.
I thought you did a great job. Again, like these kind of clips right here are important. So I'm watching
Who
this.
was it?
I don't know the guy's name, Schraber or something like that. So terrible finish by the guy. But when you see, yeah, Schraber. So he
Okay.
comes out. So the forward's head goes down. So I'm thinking, okay, as we were always taught as kids, head goes down, big touch. Can you advance before they pick their head back up? So I hear he closes 50%
Wait,
of the
Schreiber, who
space.
plays for Freiburg?
Yes.
Dude, he had a killer game a couple weeks ago.
Oh, geez.
Literally, I literally tweeted all about it.
I did not see that one.
Yeah, dude, he killed it. He killed it.
Okay, well, I'll DM him back right now. I haven't
Yeah.
responded. I'll probably just be like, hey, man.
Does he speak English? Let's have him on the show if he speaks English.
I think he does. Well, he DM'd me in English. I don't know. It could be Google Translate. You never know.
Yeah.
But so even here, I'm showing the young kids that I train. Look, watch this. When he comes out for a 1v1, he's coming out at a controlled pace. So he's coming out once the guy puts his head down. He's coming out fast approach and then slow arrival. He slows his body down so that his body is in like complete stability. So that from here, he's able to actually access his right foot, right hand, left hand because his feet are in the ground. So he has the capability because he was almost meticulously studying the forward's movement to give himself a variety of saves. So that's what I show these kids all the time. Like in training sessions, if it's a 1v1, can we look for that touch off the forward's foot? When they put their head down because it's a big touch and they have to find the ball, can you advance your position just a little bit more? Okay, well, if it's a 1v1, but it's a little bit outside, corner of the 18, and they're coming down almost parallel to the goal, if you step out too far, are there runners? Did this guy have a huge lead because you guys, blew an offside trap and it's just you 1v1? He has no help coming in. Can you come out and close him down? Or is it like, how his defenders are coming right here? He has no support coming down here, Mike. So he has no support. So most likely not. There's not going to be a cutback scenario here. But can I advance myself a little bit more where I'm not creating depth in behind me, but I'm also closing it down so that his head, once it comes back up, he's seeing a bigger picture and I'm closing it down. See, he told me he thought he could have been a little bit deeper just to give his defenders some more time to recover, which to me was great. I'm like, I'm glad you noticed that because to me, it was just I was giving you.
So he could have stayed at the 6 in his mind.
Yeah, he said he could have given his defenders some more time to apply pressure.
But I see that because he took that but do you see that right there? The second that he closes that ground right there.
Let me rewind it for you. Okay,
based on his angle, right? Mm-hmm. Look at his angle that he comes into. Yeah, so he really actually, and I see what he's saying here, because he actually made his situation worse by taking that step off his 6 at an angle like that. If he had stayed there, he actually covers more space, and it makes that an easier save. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, because he has all this space behind.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought split the difference, right? Let's say, for example, from like the 6 to the PK spot, if he was just probably like 9 yards out instead of full on 12, he still would have probably had a good chance to make the save. It was a horrible finish in my opinion, but still, the fact that like even if you notice here, Mike, how he's able to slow his body down. Look at his right foot and left foot as he gets to the ground.
Yeah.
Look, right, they set right there. One more time. As he goes, boom, left foot's about to hit the ground. Boom, right there. He's almost set on the ground. So now he's able to just be still. And again, he can access right foot, left foot because he slowed his body down. His feet are familiar with the ground, and now he's able to attack from there. So he has stability, and he has the ability to make a save. So that was another breakdown that I did, and I thought that was, again, just watching that footage, you can recall that as a goalkeeper in those moments.
I want to bring this up right now on the show as people are watching this, any young goalkeeper coaches out there. If you guys noticed, Omar and I both saw different things when we first saw that clip. So Omar obviously has seen it more times because he's he edited it and he put the whole breakdown together. I was new to it. Sometimes it's really important, and this is where ego needs to get out of the way for you young goalkeeper coaches, is you need to get a second pair of eyes on things. Because a lot of times you might not see something because you've seen it so many times over and over again. You might have overlooked something, or you had already dismissed it in the past. And it wasn't until somebody triggers it again, who had never seen it before, who brings it back to you and goes, oh, you know what? That's something right there. So I think it's just so important, because like Omar was showing me clips before, and it was the exact same thing with me. It's like I'd never thought of it that way before, and I'd seen these clips before. So it's so important to keep that dialogue going, guys. Don't just share these clips with your goalkeepers. Share them with other goalkeeper coaches too, because it's going to help you work with those goalkeepers. So I'll get off my soapbox. So
No, but I have. I mean, I know people are probably just watching this and like just watching you and I watch film. But I have one more. I posted this
By the
one
way,
on
people are digging it because I'm looking in the comment section right now. Fred Bragalia, shout out to Fred, says quality. Stan Anderson Camp, shout out. Academia de Goleros, Christian Mendez. I mean, people are digging this type of stuff, dude. People love it. People love your clips.
Well,
Oh,
I did a lot
Onana.
of study.
This is the Onana of Champions League last year.
So I'm gonna ask you, Mike, what did you see from this?
Okay, well, let me see it again. This is the save he made point blank on the line, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On Batshuayi?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see it again here. So what I recognize is shift, set, shape. Forward shape there. Look.
Good forward shape, but
great forward shape. Okay.
So I'm gonna build off your point.
Okay.
So sorry. Yeah, so I'm gonna build. So here, watch. Look at as he takes the touch away from goal. Onana doesn't step forward. He creates more depth. So even though, so right here, watch, you'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could see it on this one, the next one, but he creates more depth to give himself more reaction time. So as you see here, even though he creates depth, he's keeping his body weight forward so that he has the ability, like you said, to have that forward attack on the ball. So watch his little small steps backwards, but his body's still leaning forward. So he has the ability to attack that ball on that proper ball line versus leaning, falling backwards, and then having to almost fall backwards, and his head is going back with his hands, and he's going to turn that into the goal versus how he did here.
I want young goalkeeper coaches, and I want young goalkeeper coaches to young goalkeepers to see this too. Based on the heavy touch that Batshuayi has, that allows Onana to drop and set. If the ball had been closer to him, he probably would have either held and tried to go forward, and then Batshuayi would have had a hammer and probably scored.
Yeah.
But because he took that big touch, Onana was able to open up a little bit more and get squared up. If you watch it again, at least that's what I'm noticing here. If you wind it right here, look how big the touch is, and look that allows him to drop. See?
Yep. The thing is, Mike, see, like even there was we did I'll let it keep playing, but I did a coaching course with Phil Wedden.
Also, let me know if you disagree with me too, dude, because like I want to learn too as well.
I'm gonna add two things. So two things to your point. The first would be I did a course with Phil Wedden, and there was a situation like this in training where the forward took a touch away from goal just like this, and the goalkeeper advanced their position. And Phil said, "Hey, why are you advancing your position?" She's like, "Well, they took a touch away, so I kind of want to close down the angle." He's like, "Well, if you took a touch away from the goal and you're stepping forward, what is that doing behind you?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. It's creating space." It's like, yeah, so most likely what they're going to do is just try and chip you from there. As we saw, I don't know if you remember Robles, like week 1 or week 2 of the MLS season.
MLS season, yeah.
He got chipped by, what's his name? Shoot, I forgot. Carlos Vela. Because he kept stepping forward and created depth or created space in behind him. So I saw this and I was like, and same thing with Chris Sharp told me as well, can we find a situation where us creating depth allows us, and someone like Onana, which comes to my second point, he's an incredible shot stopper and has incredible reactions. So is it better for him to drop off in that situation so he's playing to his own strengths, or should he step forward and try to close down the angle? Yes, he made the save here, but in my opinion, he plays to his strengths, which is a shot stopping, and by creating depth, he's giving himself more time to maximize his strength.
I think that's really an important key that you brought up in regards to understanding your abilities and where your strengths lie, and being honest with yourself in regards to where you're best suited. And some goalkeepers. Now, personally, based on Batshuayi's movement of how that touch was so negative, if he had come forward, he would have been done. He would have been done.
Yep.
Because it would have exposed the space, and then Batshuayi would have been able to sneak it underneath. So he had to do that. But again, to be able to recognize that at such a high level and so fast like that, it takes not just doing it in the reps, but it takes watching clips like this. Because I guarantee you, even an old man like myself, now watching this clip, when I'm in a game and something like that happens, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I remember what Onana did, and I'm going to drop. And I might make the save.
But that's what it is, man. And that's where it's such an underrated skill to be able to watch film and break it down. And I mean, I've had some incredible guests on, but even I was talking to Nathan Thackeray, who's at NC Courage, and he brought up that his, before he ever had to, run a session for Paul Rogers, or he never saw Paul Rogers run a session when he was at the Houston Dynamo Academy. He said they went into a meeting room. Paul put on a clip and said, "Hey, tell me what you see." Nathan came up with 5 or 6 notes, and he's like, "Okay, let me tell you what I saw." And he gave him like 15 notes. And Nathan said he got my respect like this because he showed me that what you see on camera and on the surface is one thing, but when you really try to dissect and ask the why repetitively, and you break down the layers, your mind's gonna be opened up to so many new capabilities that you're going to be able to recall. Like you said, Mike, if you're ever in that situation and a guy's posting up one of your defenders, and like, how we always see sometimes some big guys in the team, they post up on the 6 or the PK spot. From there, if their touch is backward, you may automatically feel, okay, big touch away, I'm going to step forward, close down the angle. But you're going to say, you know what, I remember that Onana clip, so maybe I either hold my shape or I drop 1 or 2 yards to create some more depth to give myself some more time. So again, like you said, it's just so important to watch that film and you yourself be able to break down your own clips, because obviously you want to be self-sufficient. You want to be somebody who can do things on your own. And then from there, once you've maximized what you can do on your own in terms of what you've broken down in your own clips, then you consult with others and you say, hey, what did you see here? Okay, that actually was the same as my note. That was the same as my note. Oh my God, that third point you made was completely different than what I thought. Perfect. Now I can add that to my list of things that I can remember. So I think it's a skill, and you have to have those reps, like you said earlier.
I think one thing out there for any young goalkeepers that are listening to this right now, who are watching this, and obviously watch a lot of Omar's content, on the YouTube channel or even on the Instagram. Challenge yourself to ask questions in the comment thread, because it might not necessarily be Omar, but it might be another goalkeeper coach on there, or it might be another goalkeeper there who might see something differently, or might be able to provide a little bit more of a wrinkle to something than what you saw already. Because a lot of times what I see on these comments, and it's no, look, it's awesome, it's great, it makes everybody feel wonderful and stuff like that, is just giving praise to the content creator for the clip, which is wonderful. That's great. But is that benefiting you? Why did you watch that clip in the first place? Did you watch it to tell Omar that he really knows that really awesome stuff, man? Keep it up. Like he already knows that, and that's not why he put it up there. He didn't put it up there so that you can go, here, quality stuff, man. Keep it up. He went up there to go like, hey, Omar, thanks for showing. I got a question. In the 32nd minute, when blah blah blah, is that similar to what you're just showing me right now? Like, that's why he's posting them, guys. You got to utilize your resources to the best of your ability. And that's why we're doing this episode today, to teach you goalkeeper IQ. The only way to improve your goalkeeper IQ is to keep activating it, and keep activating your intelligence, keep activating yourself to keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. I want to talk about this now, because we've been talking about the game film. And then we brought up a little bit of the training film with Jamie. One of the big issues I see in regards to kids watching their own film is that they'll be told by a coach, hey, I really want you to watch this because of blah, 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 or whatever. And so they only focus on that. And because of that, they miss all these other things. And that coach may have missed all those other things because they only had 10 seconds to watch that clip, or they were at the game and they never even saw the footage yet. So, Omar, how do we help kids do that so they're not just focused on like what they were told to do, but also look at the extemporaneous that might have led to what they were told to watch?
Yeah, I think again, platforms like ours, we want to make sure that we expose not the truth, but we expose the proper line of questioning, so that those kids have resources like, hey, what did you see? What led to that mistake? What was your footwork like? What was the context of the situation? Was it a counterattack? Were you guys playing a certain formation that you guys, are changing up? You probably won't see that scenario again. Like, there's so many different things that I think would be better suited for those goalkeepers to create a line of questioning prior to watching the footage, so that when they're watching it now, they don't have to keep remembering, all these different points. All they have to do is look at a checklist and go, okay, what minute was this in? Okay, 90th minute. Okay, what was the score? Okay, good. What was the situation? So you're prefacing all this stuff so that you don't overreact, in my opinion, right? So like, it's a 1v1 situation and it's a 2v1. So they have help. You're stepping up to the angle, and then they're cutting it off, or they're squaring it across the goal. So instead of now you're upset about it being a goal, it's like, well, it was a 2v1 situation, so that's what I'm going to have to, that's what I'm going to assess from this point forward is maybe next time on a 2v1 situation, I pretend like I'm going to, respect the shot, but then also it's too when they square it across, my hips and my body, my eyes are already on a swivel, and I'm ready to take my body across the goal to, make a last-ditch effort. But if you're just watching it to, hey, Mike, what did you see on that 1v1 situation? Well, I came out and it was a 2v1. Not much I could really do. Okay, yeah, not much you can do. Move on. It's not really like, what I'm saying? It's not really that. You have to really dissect it. And the best way to dissect situations like that is to have a line of questioning to understand what you're looking for through each one.
I think that's also a problem on the coach's side, and I think that's something that we need to work on as coaches. Spoon feeding the breakdown to our kids and go, hey, so here's the footage from last week. As you can see in the footage, blah, 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 blah. Again, you just gave them the whole picture. Maybe it's better for us, and I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe it's better for us to give them the footage, and then afterwards, even if we already know the breakdown, even if we've already seen it and everything like that, we want to see what they see first, and how are they thinking, and how are they breaking this down, and then maybe then we go, I love the fact that you recognize that because I also saw that. Yeah. And the fact that you saw that without me telling you makes me realize that this is working, that you're getting it.
Yeah, you're right. And again, like you said, they should have a course for how you teach. And a lot of us, we don't, we have our coaching backgrounds through experiences of how we played. We picked little things off of webinars, web series, Instagram, podcast, social media. Plus, we've taken our experiences from coaches that we've drawn, characteristics from. But I think how to coach it and understanding that, I think it was Jack Stern about each player has their own learning style. So once you are able to understand what each person's learning style is, then you're able to understand what you need to throw at them. So like I said, my goalkeeper coach in Davis, he and I, we had crazy conversations because he knew that I loved watching film, but he realized, okay, it's great that you understand that you're watching film, Omar, but can we understand a little bit more what it is about the film that you're actually learning from? Sure, you made a good save there, but let's look at everything prior to that. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I thought my mindset was already formed of how I watch film. But he was like, I need you to, he actually had me take notes. And I was always thinking like, isn't this your job to break down the film for me, coach? I never told him that, but he let me, he gave me the responsibility of breaking down my own clips. When I started watching my stuff, I started telling him, I have three notes here. He's like, Omar, there's three more. I'm not going to tell you, but I need you to open your mind up a little bit more and like understand what else is there. So he understood that my learning style, I needed encouragement. So he needed to give me that positive reinforcement. You're doing great. You got 2 points out of 4. I need 2 more. Okay. Now my mind is like, crap, what do I need? And then he would give me some guided, advice. And then I would go, oh, that's the 3rd point. That's the 4th point. Good, Omar, good. So now you know what to reflect on the next time you and I have a video session. But because he understood my learning style and what I needed to get me to those next 2 or 3 points that I didn't have, the first few times, then the next, however many film sessions we had, I was able to break down more and more for him and show him what I was missing prior.
Yeah, that dude, I love the fact that you brought that, and I think honestly a lot of that has to do with the development of where you are today as a coach and as an analyst and everything like that. Probably stems from that experience that you had at Davis. I take it for instance in similar ways, like when I was a kid, I think it was like 4th or 5th grade or something like that. I needed laundry done, and my stepmom couldn't do it at the time, and she said, okay, well, you're gonna have to learn how to do your laundry. And if she had never taught me how to do my laundry, I would have just kept always just asking her to be doing it for me. I never would have learned how to do it. So when I finally moved away, I would have had to start from scratch. So if we basically are giving our goalkeepers everything at the youth levels, by the time they move on and they're quote unquote autonomous or independent or in a professional environment or whatever, and they simply just aren't, it's not a learning environment anymore in that regard. They're going to be deer in the headlights, because now they're going to be stuck in situations that they've never they've never had to think for themselves, and I even think back to just myself as a human being in person. I feel that a lot of the flaws that I have as a human being today are based on the fact that I never had to think for myself for certain aspects of my life. And if only I had done that earlier on, you know, I would, I'd probably still be on this podcast right now, because honestly, this is where my life would have headed regardless. But let's just say some of my mistakes may not have been as prevy.
Yeah, no, but it's pretty wild though, because I mean, I'm very like introspective, and I like to think about, we talked about like experiences and, what in your past has led you to be the person that you are. And I think a lot of the stuff that, like my first session that I ever ran by myself as a goalkeeper coach, I was nervous as could be, just because I was like, am I going to get this right? Their parents are going to be watching. Do they think am I good enough for them? Like, they're paying me to run sessions, and I was charging $25 an hour, which was like, like not laughable now, but it's just like, that's not what I charge. So I charge a lot more.
Wow,
but,
your volume just raised up ridiculously.
Oh, really? Are you good?
It's really high now.
Still?
Yeah. Drop it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll drop it.
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, so I think, so like, like for like my first few sessions, I was just afraid. I didn't know what to expect. And then now it's like I've been able to get those reps and do it continuously over and over and over. Now, those mistakes that I had when I was younger, I'm essentially laughing at them, because I'm like, I can't believe I was afraid of that. I can't believe that's something that gave me some worry. And I think that is situations that we need to give our goalkeepers now, where it's like that first few hurdles and like steps of their almost consciousness of them being afraid to be wrong or to have a coach disagree with them. We need to get them over those boundaries. And once we get them over those 3 or 4 times, they're going to be the growing pains. Once we get them over that, you're going to realize that their social acumen and who they are as a person in terms of their personality in sessions is going to really, really rise, and you're going to get the best out of them. But I almost sometimes preface my conversations with some of my goalkeepers like, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to, ask you certain things about your reasoning for why you do X, Y, and Z. And if you can give me the reason, then we have no issues. But if you can't give me the reason, I'm going to press the issue and have you almost solve your reasoning for why you do it. And once you are able to do that, and they're exposed to situations of, oh, okay, it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to, express my instinctual feeling towards a certain moment that just happened in training. Once you have that barrier broken, then floodgates, man. They're able to speak what's on their mind, say what they need to say what they want to say, and you start realizing that they're going to have almost backing and respect and a buy-in for themselves because of what they're saying is like, no, this is not just something that a coach taught me, but I learned this from the last session, Coach Omar, and this is the reason why I'm giving you what I'm saying. And because they have that ability to call on their own experiences and their own failures as to, this is the reason why I decided not to come out, diving feet first on a 1v1 because I got chipped. Now I'm like, oh, that's why you stood your ground. Perfect. Great. Now I know why. So you give them the ability to show you inside their psyche. And once you have, again, the ability to see what's inside their head, you have way more data points to know how to coach them.
I want to bring up this before we start wrapping up here. And that is the element of, we've been talking about breaking down game film. We've been talking about breaking down goalkeepers and training sessions. One thing we haven't touched on is coaches filming themselves to increase their IQ as a coach. This is something that I think is that next level that I think we need to start getting to. And a lot of it came from when I first saw the Sharpie session that you did, the mic'd up session that you did with Chris Sharp. And it made me recognize how much is missing when we watch a coach's session online versus when we're actually at their session. Like when we were at Todd Hofford's session and you actually hear the language that the goalkeeper coach is working and how their physicality when they're working with the goalkeepers and everything like that. And I think that's the next step we need to go to, is we need to start also having goalkeeper coaches. And I've been guilty of this in the past as well too, filming themselves so that we can see our tendencies. And one of the great things about quarantine for me is that I've been able to break down tape of me coaching during the quarantine, because I've been, when I've been doing virtuals and things like that, it's like I've got my coaching going on at the exact same time as I can actually see the image. So how do we help coaches look for the little cues or the little little mistakes that they're making and fix those when they get back to the field.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I reflect on some of the sessions that I've watched of myself, and there are certain coaching points and things that for me that I've made while watching my own sessions, and I'm realizing, oh, the reason why I made that coaching point is because I shot the ball early, or because I tried to make the session too staticky, and I said, okay, you're going to touch that cone, and then from there I'm going to shoot it. And sometimes if my timing isn't right, the goalkeeper almost has to play the drill and not the actual scenario. And by watching that footage and like listening back to my coaching points, I'm like, well, I'm putting them in emergency type situations to make these saves that I'm also critiquing. So if I'm trying to expose them for doing something wrong, I should also expose myself for not putting them through drills that actually provide value because of the way I'm serving, if I'm serving too early. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm critiquing you for my own mistakes, and I'm sorry about that. But had I not watched my own footage and kind of been honest about myself, or honest with myself about certain things, then I probably would still be critiquing goalkeepers and probably instilling bad habits into their heads and them overthinking things because of me serving the ball too soon. And now they're running into saves when really, ideally, you want them to try and slow their body down and set. So what I would say is just be honest with yourself, film, have, good audio so you can listen to yourself back and listen to your coaching points. Are you saying too much in the session? Are you stopping it too often? Are you letting the goalkeeper speak? One thing I did recently was like with Jamie, I watched the session and I probably spoke 95% of the time and she spoke 5%. This was like last week. This is when I've been trying to get better with allowing my goalkeepers to have that social kind of quality and build them up and communicate better. And this was last week. And I want to get better at it, but I'm still finding myself by watching the film that I'm speaking almost 95% of the session. And then she doesn't have the freedom to speak, not because she doesn't want to, it's because I never give her the opportunity to. So I
No,
think it's yeah.
no, I mean as I just cut you off right there because I want to speak. No, no, I'm just, I think you're so spot on about that. And one thing I've recognized about myself in the past is that I watched training films sessions that I've done, and I've watched it from the goalkeeper's perspective and what is the goalkeeper doing, and how can I help the goalkeeper. I didn't even focus on the session itself and myself, and
Mm.
and I've been trying to do that now, and it's amazing what the camera picks up, because the camera doesn't lie.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing about all of this. Whenever a goalkeeper gets on you, whenever a coach is on you or whatever, is that the camera doesn't lie. So no matter what you say, the camera is not biased in one direction. So that is reality. Whatever's on there is reality. So, and you can either be delusional and not deal with it and say, you know what, it's wrong, that didn't happen, or you can accept it and learn from it. And I think that's really a great way for us to sum up this episode, is just that, be willing to learn from everything you see and keep improving and keep getting better and changing things up and being versatile. And that's how you develop that goalkeeper intelligence, right?
Agreed. Yeah, and I think it's like we made, like the first point I made at the start of this is just trying to, I mean, we talk about multitasking, and I think in quarantine we've had a lot of time to kind of understand how we can maximize our days, because it's just they're so long and we can try and get as much done as we can. But for me it was like, when I'm trying to, for example, coach these kids in my sessions, why not just film them? Okay, if I film them, then why not break down their footage and then send it to them? Okay, if I'm doing that, why not also break down my own coaching points and what I'm doing and if my session structure made sense? So now I'm maximizing that hour of me watching my own footage from training. Now I'm getting all these 4 or 5 points that I otherwise would have just said, you know what, I'm just watching this footage just to post it on YouTube and that's it. But now I'm actually sitting there and understanding the context of what I'm getting out of them, what I'm getting out of myself, and what I got out of the session. So those 3 points I'm constantly looking at every time I film. And I feel like that is super important. And can we take those 3 points that I just said, and can we also do that for major, sporting events, Europa League final, Champions League final, even the Champions League group stage, women's FAWSL, the women's Premier League? Can we watch that and can we say, what did Venendahl do here and how could she have been better? And I think that is very important, just trying to multitask and do multiple things at once when you're watching a single clip. And I think that is important, but having those notes prior, so you have like almost a checklist of what you need to do, I think is second to none in terms of really helping you out as a coach.
By the way, I want to bring this up real quick before we finish the show. Omar, is that a lot of people have been asking. They say, hey, Omar used to only post Premier League and blah blah blah, and he's been posting a lot of different types of content lately. And I say, one of the really cool things about the fact that you've been diversifying a lot of the content on your channels is that it's showcasing how these scenarios are not foreign to one specific league or level or anything like that, but that you can find great situations and you can find coachable situations at all the different levels. And that I think that's really cool, because anybody who looks at something and says, oh, I don't play at that level, that doesn't matter to me, or I play at a level higher than that, so that doesn't matter to me, is completely missing the picture, right?
Yeah, you can learn so much from everything. And remember, I mean, when you watch professional highlights, any professional goalkeepers, those people are the top 1, 2, 3% in the world at their jobs. So the players they're playing against are incredibly quick, which means incredibly quick decisions for the goalkeepers. So you're seeing at the highest level where their minds are and where their minds are taking them in those split-second decisions. So why wouldn't you want to learn from those goalkeepers who are going through that stuff? Because when you get to your game, by watching those clips, you're gonna be able to slow down the game for yourself. And as you've seen from Buffon, Casillas, Lehman, big time goalkeepers in the game, they've slowed the game down for themselves, and that's why they've been able to play upwards until they're 40 years old.
Yeah, and for anybody out there, who sees that and they go like, well, I see a clip at MLS, whatever, man. I'm not watching MLS clips. It's like, all right, dude. Or even college or NWSL or WPS or anything, any league that you don't watch. Guess what? If you're playing in high school and youth and everything like that, like, you can benefit so much from watching any level of professional soccer and any level of higher amateur soccer. That's why I think it's so fantastic that Bree has, her 17s behind her goal as ball girls watching her matches. I think that's just awesome.
Well, I think you just made you just gave me a thought. I think what I'm going to do now is probably like coordinate something with some of the coaches and consult with them and put a list of questions that I think a checklist would be for young goalkeepers to do. So, you know what I mean? Like, what minute was it? What was the formation that led to that? What was the situation? What was the situation prior to the actual situation that you're watching? So, like, give them a checklist for young goalkeepers.
Dude, if you could put a template together like that and like share that around, I mean, like, I feel like a lot of goalkeeper coaches, I mean, I know I would use that as like a template to, like, when I show up to a session, be like, okay, well, we're breaking down these film and stuff. Okay, well, I got Omar's cheat sheet right here. I can just use
I think I will.
And I don't mean a cheat sheet as in, like, you're being lazy about it. I just mean more like as in, like, some specific bullet points that are always going to wake. I think the one thing I will bring up to that, though, and I don't want to contradict, is that make sure, goalkeeper coaches out there, is that it doesn't become stale. So if you're asking the same questions over and over again, kids are going to get bored. So you've got to find different ways to activate the same type of thought process with the goalkeeper. So if it's literally you're reading verbatim these 4 or 5 questions every single time, they're going to start figuring out the game, and they're going to start trying to cheat the game, and they're going to start trying to, again, parrot. Remember the parroting that was talking about before? They're going to start trying to do the parroting. So maybe use that as a template, but then use your own language when you're talking to them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And that's the beauty of getting consultation and hearing other people's thought processes about the same things that we're both.
I probably shouldn't have said that on the air. I apologize.
No, it's okay. But I think it's like if like you and I, like, for example, I was doing a lot of interviews, and I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and I've been watching a lot of, like, Tom Brokaw, like, people who are like big time interviewers and hosts. When I watch them, I go, whoa, okay, what was their cadence like? What was their temperament like when things didn't go as planned? What were their notes like? What kind of questions did they ask? So you start realizing, like, there's a lot of skill in interviewing. So I'm watching film on these professional, hosts, and I'm thinking all of those different things. I may not agree with everything they're saying, but because my mind has been opened and allowed to get new information in, I have a better chance of, coming back to what I was doing and then filling in the blanks the way, my personality would. So I think that's what I mean by like, cheat sheet's good, but it's just information that you can kind of go, oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay, but he didn't think about this either. Let me actually write what I thought was going to be better. You know what I mean? So like your mind is open to other things, and then from there you can draw ideas. And I think that's the beauty of the quarantine. We've all been able to share as a goalkeeping community, and the fact that all of us have been able to share, we've all accessed different parts of our minds and perspectives on the game that I don't think we've ever really done in the past.
Dude, I don't think there's one webinar. I don't think there's one video. I don't think there's one podcast I've done or listened to where I don't feel like at the end of it I learned something new or thought of something in a different way. So
Exactly.
I think we're all just going to be, better prepared for this new world out there. All right. Well, we've been going for almost an hour and 50 minutes without a rundown, which just showcases how much we can talk about goalkeeping.
We definitely can.
Whatsoever. Again, guys, Emily Boyd will be on Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific. We've also got a few other different guests this week. We'll be letting you guys know about that. We're going to be doing potentially either this week or next week. We're actually going to be doing an episode with one of the big time MLS guys in the analyst tactical. What do they call them? Metrics. Yeah. Metrics analytics. Analytics world. I mean, because like man, those guys, man, they're like, oh, do you know Spencer Ritchie, if at 45 degrees, if he moves his foot to the right, actually the shot goes into the left-hand corner like this. And I'm like, oh, man, well, this is the next level of our education coming here. Yeah. So we're trying to present people that, are bringing different walks of life of goalkeeping that are going to keep making you a better goalkeeper and a better goalkeeper coach out there. So be on the lookout for that sort of content. Again, guys, check out all the Pro GK Academy stuff, guys. I really can't stress it anymore. Omar's doing a fantastic job with the YouTube videos. The full sessions are on there. If you want small little breakdowns, it's on the Instagram. Again, start asking the right questions in the commentary in the commentary thread, and guys, start your own threads. If you start your own group threads, if you guys start a conversation based on a breakdown that Omar put on the thing, go set your own separate thread and DM each other and go, hey guys, this is about the Omar blah 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 thing. So then that way you guys can really get profound and really into the conversation, and we can keep building this goalkeeping community that we got going on. Again, guys, if you have a guest suggestion or topic suggestion, contact at Inside the 18. That's the number 18media.com, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. All right, I got to go rest my voice. This has been awesome, dude. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.